mission statement. This next lesson is about vision statement. How are they not the same thing?
That's a good question. They can often be seen as like interchangeable, like, oh, what's your mission statement? What's your vision statement? They're different in the sense that the mission statement that we talked about in the previous lesson is a description of what your mission is, what you're doing now.
What you're actively doing. It's a doing now kind of statement.
Yep, Jesus has come to seek and save the lost. That is what he is doing and what he will continue to do, but that is what he is doing. A vision statement is looking a bit more into the future, which is what, think of the vision of what you're looking at in the future, that you're not there yet, but this is how you see yourself and how you see your work positioned in the world in the future.
There's a organization here locally where we live that works with the homeless and the lower income communities, and their vision statement is to end homelessness. That's what done looks like for them. Once homelessness is ended, they will close their doors. And until then, they have some sort of mission statement that's propelling them forward. And so whenever I think of vision statement, I think of that, to end homelessness. Like, that is the end goal.
Great.
That is the future that they see.
That's the destination.
The destination is a future where homelessness is eradicated. And so what is it for you? What is it that the ultimate, your work is finished, the world has changed, and it's never going back, end result for the work that you're doing?
You're on mission as you pursue and reach the vision. Like, you're on mission now until you reach the vision. And so a great example of a vision statement in the Bible, again, can you believe this stuff's like in the Bible and not just, in workbooks in corporate America? Look, the Bible has so much to say about this. In the book of Nehemiah, I love Nehemiah, and we can learn so much from him as a leader, as a visionary here, as we'll see, and a man who put God first as he pursued the mission that God put on his heart. In Nehemiah 2:17, it says, "Let's rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace." You remember we talked about Nehemiah at a previous lesson where we were talking about how it's what broke his heart, was the fact that his hometown in Jerusalem was just broken. The walls were broken down, and he wept at that. That's what broke his heart. That's the problem he wanted to solve. Well, he finally got all of his people together and got all the way over back to Jerusalem, and he looked at things and saw how bad it was, and he said, all right, guys, we're here. Let's rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. He cast a vision for everyone listening to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to look like when we're finished, and this will be the result when we get there. And so let's ask ourselves these same sort of questions to form a vision statement for the work that you're doing. So again, we're going to start with, what problem breaks your heart?
Feels like we bring this question up a lot. It's like we're always talking about what the problem is, but we need to be that clear on it.
We talk about falling in love with the problem. You fall in love with the problem. So you talk about it a lot. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with you, and I keep talking about that. Like, if I just mentioned I loved you and fell in love with you once, but don't continue to keep that front and center, then we shift and we drift. So
falling in love with that problem, bringing it up in all of these modules and all of these lessons is just because it's that important. We need to know what problem we're solving. Otherwise, it can get really muddy, and people get confused about what you're doing, and they don't know whether or not they can jump on board with you. But if you're really clear about the problem, all these other pieces are kind of predicated on that. So
great. Once you've identified that or just restated that, then what are you going to do about it? For Nehemiah, it was like, we're going to rebuild the wall. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do about the problem. And then ask yourself, what does finished look like? Now, for Nehemiah, it was a completed, rebuilt wall around the city. That was a very clear, it's done when the wall is back up and fully around the city. What does finished look like for you? And I'm not just talking about the project. I'm not just talking about like the book. Well, it'll be done when it's published. Well, that's great. But we're talking about your overall, the thing that you're on mission to do. What does that look like if you pursue that mission all the way to the finish line? What does it look like?
What does it look like when the problem is no longer a problem?
Exactly. To end homelessness, look, will they ever do it? I hope so. Maybe not, but that's okay. That's still keeping the vision ahead of you and gives you always something to look forward to. If you see a vision of like a mountain in the distance, that shows you I know I'm done when I get to that mountain and I'm on the top of that mountain. That's the vision for where we're going. Hopefully you get there. Hopefully you do. You may never, but that doesn't deter you from always going toward that vision.
That's why you have a mission statement to keep you going along the
Your
way.
mission is
on the way to the
your
vision.
mission is the action verb that keeps you actionable in the present, and all the while pushing you toward that vision. And then, what will be the result? I think it's really interesting in this verse in Nehemiah that it's not just about rebuilding the wall. It's also about, why does that matter? Like, why do we need the wall rebuilt? Like, there are, I'm sure, plenty of people in Nehemiah's camp that'd be like, yeah, let's rebuild the wall. But some might not have been able, some would say, well, that just sounds like a lot of work. Like, that's a lot of physical labor. And like, look at it, it's a mess. Like,
Or
why would
also,
we want
like,
to do that?
what's the point? Like, once it's built, then what's
It's like,
then what?
yeah, we're not living here anyway. Like, what's
We're
the point?
gonna go back to our homes. What's the point of having this wall?
So Nehemiah says, not just let's rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, but he also says, and end this disgrace. He knew that Jerusalem was positioned on the world's stage as the people that God loved and took care of. And so he knew that if the wall of Jerusalem was broken down, then all the neighboring little tribes and peoples would say, oh, that's the God of the Israelites. That's their capital city. That's where the temple was. That's ridiculous. God, he must not have any power whatsoever. And so Nehemiah wanted to not just rebuild the wall just to have a nice wall around the city, but so that it could end the disgrace and shut up the critics forever. And so for you, what will be the result? What's the why there? What will be the result once you reach that mountaintop? Once your wall is built, why does that matter? And what's the result? Then you've answered these questions. Let's use that same language that you discovered here and put it into a vision statement. Again, same sort of template as Nehemiah. Let's rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. It even ends with an exclamation point. So the vision statement here is, maybe you can use this template. We will, and we, by the way, one word at a time. We, you don't have to have a team. I'm not talking about you and your team of people. You may not even have a huge audience of people hanging on your every word, but we can start with this vision statement of we, knowing that this is bigger than just you. And there will be people, if your vision statement is very clear, there's going to be people who are like, I also see that problem in the world and I want to be a part of that solution too. And maybe what they really want to do is join you and support you in your work. And if you're using this language of we, then people can see their role in it too. And also, as you just broadcast what you're doing in the world, there's going to be people who may not join your team, but maybe want to provide support and funds or share the word of what you're doing. You'll have allies come through the woodwork the more clear you are about your vision of where you see your work positioned in the world. So, all that to say, we will fill in the blank of what you're going to do, rebuild the wall, until what finished looks like, until the wall around Jerusalem is completed. So that blank, so that the result, so that we can end this disgrace in Nehemiah's case. What's the result for you? We will blank until blank, so that blank. There's your vision statement. I know I made it sound a lot easier than it is. It may take a little bit of work, wrestle with it. You're not going to necessarily even get it in one sit down, but this is big stuff. And so feel free to take your time, use the language. All of these questions, by the way, aren't necessarily to just, copy and paste right into your vision statement, but it's to give you some language that you can start being comfortable with and familiar with as you can then integrate it into what you're trying to work on. And you can recycle this language when you talk about it to people, when you post about things. But for now, let's just try to boil this down into a vision statement that you can use. Put it on a sticky note, put it on your computer, paint it on your wall, something. Keep that vision in front of you. Keep that picture of the mountaintop. Keep that vision of the completed wall nearby and handy so that you can always keep that in front of you and be able to pursue your mission as you stay on mission as you continue to go toward it.